Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week I'm going to review some of the recent articles that have been released about the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Before we get started, I'm inviting you to join the conversation with us. We can be found on Twitter at Force Ghost Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok just by searching Force Ghost Conversations. And we look forward to connecting with you on those platforms. Also, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your listening site of choice. And without further ado, it is time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost conversations. Okay, everyone, we are back. And before we get into our discussion about some of the recent articles about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, aka what I am going to be calling up, ramping up the excitement for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. We're in full swing to get us hyped and ready to go for May 27th. So I hope you all are as well. So we got a couple articles that came out over the past week that share some new insights about the series and what we can expect from it. But before we get into that, let's talk about some other news that took place this week in the Star Wars galaxy in our appropriately dubbed segment, Cloud City Gossip. Now, first, there's some big news in the Star Wars game world this week. A new Star Wars game has been announced. According to StarWars.com, Skydance New Media announced a collaboration with Lucasfilm Games to develop and produce a narrative-driven action-adventure game featuring an original story in the Star Wars galaxy. Now, helming Skydance New Media is award-winning writer and director Amy Hennig, a game industry legend whose credits include the blockbuster series Legacy of Kain, Jak and Daxter, and Uncharted. Now, I've never played Uncharted, but I know it's a beloved game franchise across the world, and it is also a popular movie now at the cinema. So good for all that. I'm happy to see this collaboration and see where it goes and where it ends up. Now, that's basically all the details that we have right now, but we will certainly be covering the story here on Force Ghost Conversations as more details are unveiled, and we look forward to the release of this game whenever it does come out. Also, if you're been out of the loop for a few weeks, Star Wars Celebration is just a few mere weeks away. Basically, at the end of May, so we're a month out at this point, basically. With that, several new guests were announced this week to be in attendance, and these are some big hitters here. The guest list now includes Sam Witwer, aka the voice of Maul, Sidious, and other Star Wars characters in the Star Wars galaxy. He voiced specifically Maul in the Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels. Matt Lanter, who voiced the character of Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars series and various other Star Wars projects. Katie O'Brien, who played one of Moff Gideon's officers in The Mandalorian. Kelly Marie Tran, who played the excellent Rose Tico in Star Wars The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. Billy Lord, who plays Lieutenant Connix in the sequel trilogy. And last but certainly not least, Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi himself, will be there at the convention. I think that would be pretty obvious, but he will be doing autographs and photo sessions with fans, so if there are any available left, be sure to pick those up. I know it was $300 for either a photograph or an autograph, and frankly, I feel like that's a pretty good deal if you ask me. So autographs and photograph sessions with the majority of the actors in attendance are available now too, so be sure to check out officialpics.com now in order to secure these opportunities for yourself. For example, my wife and I will be meeting with Dee Bradley Baker over the weekend, so we are very excited for that, and we hope to see you at the convention. So now, on the other side of this break, we'll be back with our main topic for today, ramping up that excitement for Obi-Wan Kenobi and discussing some of the other articles that came out this week in a bit more detail. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Force Ghost Conversations, everybody. I hope you're having a great week at home. I know it's starting to get warmer out and sunnier out in certain areas of the country. I hope you're able to get some fresh air and some sunshine. I always like the spring season when it comes to my fandom of Star Wars because it allows me to wear my Star Wars t-shirts out again in public. And honestly, my mind is always set on the May month being um, Star Wars-esque month. The summer movie season's in full swing. Then you get the shorts out. The sun is shining. The days are a bit longer again. There's a lot of optimism that comes with when it comes to spring, and it usually rejuvenates my love and interest in Star Wars again. Not that it would ever go away at all, but it's always exciting to wear the swag again and just be excited for all the things that are coming for in the world of Star Wars. So, for example, Obi-Wan Kenobi is coming out. May 27th, we get those first 2 episodes of the series, and I cannot wait. Everything that I keep hearing about the series just is more in line with what I want from this series, what I would expect from this series, and creatively what I would expect the creators to go in certain avenues and to go down certain paths. So over the course of this week, there were two major articles I really wanted to highlight in the course of this episode. Really starting to ramp up this hype train that we're going to be starting here on Force Ghost Conversations, heading head forced long straight into the Kenobi of it all. So you may have seen, if you're on social media, that making the rounds this week, there was an exclusive EW article titled "Hayden Christensen Binge Star Wars Animated Shows to Prepare for Obi-Wan Kenobi." Now, we're going to get to Hayden's portion a bit later on in this article, because I wanted to talk about a bit more of the other highlights that came up in there. But it really talks about how Ewan and Hayden got prepped for re-entering the Star Wars galaxy again in a way that they never have before or since Revenge of the Sith. Right? They kind of took some time away from Star Wars, even Hayden, even from acting a little bit. Um, and now they're definitely welcome back into the fold as members of the Star Wars galaxy. They're appreciated in a way that they probably weren't in 2005, 2006. And they even did, little bits and pieces in the sequel trilogy and Force Awakens, as well as the Rise of Skywalker. So the seeds have been planted, definitely. But as we're going to get into here, the level of detail that they have gone into for prepping for these roles is really astounding. So, for example, in the article, it notes that Ewan watched all 9 Skywalker saga films to get back into the swing of things. And again, as you should. You should. You got to know exactly where you're at. I also know that Ewan it's probably his first time watching some of those films since the prequel trilogy came. I mean, that's obviously a quote here, too. It turns out it was the first time McGregor watched the prequels since they were originally released. And as he said, it was so interesting to watch our films because I hadn't seen them since they came out. Not at all. So it was cool to see and interesting to watch them and enjoy them without all of the noise that was around when they came out. Obviously, it seems like the actors might have been affected by the negativity that surrounded it all. And now that us prequel kids are older, we are, we're buying things. We are the ones making decisions now. We're soon running the world here. The fact that we get to see our heroes again, these fabulous characters and actors portray these characters at least one more time. Fingers crossed. You never know what the future holds, but the fact that we get to do this all again is really astounding. I would love to know what Ewan his headspace was watching those films again, because I know he's joked a bit about. I mean, I would say probably lovingly a loving tease about the green screen and the blue screen that he had to act on in the Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. And now that we have the volume technology and what they probably filmed on location for some of these, or at least somewhere location wise for some of Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm just gonna say you're probably gonna get a very interesting and great performance out of Ewan. Not that you win anyways, but it's probably gonna be heightened a bit more in a way that he probably never imagined possible back then. And they were at the cutting edge of technology as well. I mean, you got to remember that this is really the first massive digital project, and it's literally changed cinema. So Ewan also started reviewing other science fiction material in this article. He notes. So he said he started reading science fiction, and he said that Ian M. Banks, a Scottish writer, he started reading his science fiction novels, And it's something he didn't really do the first time. He studied Alec Guinness and watched the original three films when they went the first roundabout for the prequel trilogy, but he didn't really think about the genre at large. And it's not something that he would normally do. But this time he was so excited, evidently, about being back in a galaxy far, far away because he really loves. He's a Star Wars fan, right? He's got the familial connection to Wedge, obviously being his uncle, and he's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I love that story of if you watch I think it's Graham Norton, the interview that he did on that late night show where he was explaining how he was, I think, driving into Hollywood or something like that, and uh, someone sped past him and he caught up to them at the light and he was yelling at him or something like that, and the person in the car looked over at him and he was in shock and he's like, "That's Obi-Wan Kenobi." I mean, obviously there's some language in there. We'll keep this a bit more family friendly than what was on the show. But I just love that. These are, for better or for worse, Ewan McGregor is the iconic face of Obi-Wan Kenobi now. At least, he's a major factor of it. Obviously, he's not going to overtake Alec Guinness for what he did in the role as well, but like they both stand on their own when it comes to what they bring to the role of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it's just really cool that, he's willing to go outside the bounds of what Star Wars is. I think George Lucas would appreciate that. Obviously George has never been too shy about keeping his influences and wearing it on his sleeve. That's very much a George thing. And, you know, I think that they would say, like, especially like a Favreau and Filoni creative group would be like, if you're trying to create a Star Wars or emulate Star Wars, don't watch Star Wars, right? Watch the things that inspired George Lucas to create Star Wars and then create your own thing, or add something fresh and new to the universe. And I think Ewan's going to absolutely do that based off of what I am hearing in these quotes. So these are obviously fascinating things, and it just makes me more excited to see what he's going to bring to the role. Now, Hayden is also quoted in this article. I mean, he's obviously in the the title of it all, right? So Hayden is quoted as saying he went back and rewatched all the films too, but he also got into the animated shows, the Clone Wars and Rebels. Now, Hayden also said it was interesting. They did a lot with these characters in those shows, and they did further explore the relationship. There is interesting stuff there to learn about. It was great fun getting to go back and re-immerse yourself in this world that just continues to grow and become more and more vast. Now, Hayden is absolutely right here. What they were able to do with the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, even Star Wars Resistance is, what is the benefit of the television medium is you have time. You have time to explore character relationships, add more to the lore and the canon of the universe, explore planets and civilizations and cultures that you never would have been able to, create new characters, fascinating characters, right? Ahsoka, Ezra, Kanan, list goes on and on. Hera, Sabine. I would just love to know what he thought about in certain arcs of these series. I would love to know what he thought of during, like, for example, the Mortis arc. I would love to know how he thought of basically season 7 of the Clone Wars. It's just some ones that stand out to me specifically. Perhaps Ahsoka leaving the Order. The Ahsoka of it all, and I hope that in future interviews, that now that this information is out there, that people will ask him about these things. I mean, if you're going to Celebration, fingers crossed, Hayden will be there at some way, shape, or form. I know I'm personally saving my pennies so that I can meet with Hayden. If I had this conversation with my wife yesterday, is like, if we're spending our money, I assume that it's going to be $300 for the same one, right? If that's the set price for Ewan McGregor, like, you gotta assume that's the same price that Hayden would bargain for. And I was like, the impact that each character's had on me is profound. But if I have to pick one of them, I'm holding my pennies for Hayden, right? So that's kind of I'm holding out hope, But if you're ever get the chance to meet him, maybe ask him those questions and see what he responds with. But I'm glad that he got to see like how the character has evolved and know the headspace that they're in at the time of this series, right? In both a pre and a post sense, with the Clone Wars kind of finishing that story that he started in the prequel trilogy, and then Rebels being a nice like add-on epilogue in a way from where the Obi-Wan Kenobi series takes place, which will be smack dab in the middle, about 10 years after 9, 10 years or so after Revenge of the Sith, and about 5 years from the start of Star Wars Rebels. But Star Wars Rebels ends with basically the Rogue One and A New Hope, because they're basically right back to back of each other. That is about smack dab in the middle of it, of those 19 years. So very interesting, very interesting. Would love to know more about his thoughts here. And also, it's always smart that these actors are going back to the expanded universe of it all. I remember when like the sequel trilogy was in massive full swing, and like all the books and the comics were really delving into some of these like side characters that were major players in the, like, say, the First Order, for example. And I remember like um Donald Gleason being asked about like Hux as a character, which has been explored in other mediums and stuff like that, and they were very candid about like they didn't know, and of course no actor is required to delve into every literature and piece of lore and canon about their character, but it's always nice when they're adding that extra effort. Let's just say it doesn't go unnoticed by like fans that are really knee deep in it ourselves, right? I think we appreciate that. At least I do, and I hope you do too at home. And again, there are rumors out there that Hayden will be involved in the Ahsoka series some way, shape, or form. So it would make sense that he would be aware a bit more of who Snips is as a character. So that when they're saying these things in dialogue, potentially, if they hypothetically in a future timeline, if this were to happen, if she calls him Snips, or if he calls her Snips, then she calls him back Sky Guy, right? If and when that were to happen, they'd have a bit more context as to why they're saying those types of lines. Okay, I think that's great. I'm just glad that these two are back in the fold. It's great to see their friendship rekindled in a way after over 15 years since probably they last spoke to each other. I would say I haven't heard any reason otherwise that they've been in contact with each other. So it's just great that they're back in the fold, and Star Wars is for the better for it, and cannot wait for this series to come out. The other article that came out this week that is super important for, I would say, in the Star Wars lexicon, the Star Wars galaxy, what have you, is the fact that Natalie Holt has been officially confirmed as the composer for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and she did like a very candid interview in the Hollywood trade publication Variety this week. And you may know Holt's work for recently. She did the phenomenal score, I would say, in my opinion. I love this a lot, for the Marvel TV series Loki that is now on Disney Plus. Go check that out. And there are the two albums basically that you can listen to, like episodes 1 through 3 and then 4 to 6 of Loki on Spotify, probably not Apple Podcasts, but Apple Music or YouTube. Any place that you can probably find music, it's available, I would imagine. So definitely go check that out if you want to see where her headspace might be. But I think that was really a phenomenal piece of musical literature. But with that, she will also be the first female composer for a Star Wars live action project. So we're literally going to have more history in this series to begin with, let alone with Deborah Chow being the first female showrunner of an entire Star Wars live action project. So it's great that we're getting more representation and that type of interaction behind the scenes, and bringing those different voices and ideas into the larger galaxy of it all that is Star Wars. Now, we have not heard anything yet for her work for the series, and she confirmed that. There was some speculation that maybe there was something in the Kenobi trailer that came out a few weeks ago but that was primarily just Duel of Fates and some other prequel trilogy anthems. I'm gonna declare. But I think that's a good thing that we haven't heard anything of her work. Let us be surprised when it comes to the actual show. I can't wait for it. I kind of like Boba Fett, right? And the Mandalorian. Like that was very exciting to know that we're going into a whole new, very different side of the Star Wars galaxy that is super fresh and unique. We're very excited for. And let me, I'd rather be surprised to it rather than have expectations coming in for it. So I'm going in ready to be amazed by the work that she's going to concoct together here. But we wouldn't have Star Wars without that special glue that George Lucas would often say, and that's her collaboration with John Williams. Now, she did note that Obi-Wan is a legacy character and that John hadn't written a theme for him because he died so quite early on in Episode 4, A New Hope. And at this point, it's the only legacy character that he hadn't done in terms of a theme. I guess maybe Chewie is getting a theme one of these days. Uh, but we'll let that slide. So they basically John and spoke to Kathleen Kennedy, Lucasfilm president, and said he just wants to write Benny a theme, old Ben Kenobi. So like, who can deny him that, right? And they did, and evidently John Williams is back to write the Obi-Wan Kenobi theme again. Confirmed. This was a scoop that was out earlier that has now been confirmed, and it just embodies the spirit of the show entirely, according to Natalie Holt. Now, this isn't the first time that John has done something like this, where he's just written a theme and then let the other composer do whatever they want with variations of that theme and work in the same sandbox that John created with basically all 9 other Skywalker saga films. This was done with, more specifically, with Solo, a Star Wars story, with composer John Powell, where Han wrote the theme for Han, The Adventures of Han Solo, I believe is what the track is officially called. And I love the Solo, a Star Wars story score. As soon as I was in the theater and heard that theme for Han, I fell in love with it. The next day after seeing Solo, I drove to my local Target, bought that CD because it wasn't available yet on a vinyl, which is my preferred method of music collection and purchasing. It was only available on Spotify or CD at that point. I still have that Solo CD. It's in my car, and I listen to it all the time. It's literally, aside from a Gary Clark Jr. CD, it's the only CD that I have at this point. And it's great. So if that's the same type of collaborative work that they're going to be doing on this project, boy, count me in. I can't even get more excited than that. Now, I'm very intrigued as to what the theme for him will be. It may be a bit more somber, or slightly with a bit like a hint of optimism in there. But that Han Adventures of Han one is so plucky and it's just so fun. I really like that one a lot. And it just shows what the character is at that point in time. Now, I hope we get that Han theme more later on as more things come out. Maybe make a Solo 2 happen. Who knows? We'll see what the future holds. The future is always in motion, but we're just gonna keep going. But the fact that he's involved in the project, and Natalie Holt's very respectful of that. Yet it seems like she's creating her own, adding her own voice to the Star Wars canon musically as well. That gets me super, super pumped for what this show is going to entail. She also noted in this interview that Ewan's just delivering the performance of his career. Again, what more could they possibly say to get me more excited for this show? I was on board when they just announced it. The fact, when going back to Ewan saying, ask me if I'm going to play Obi-Wan Kenobi at D23, and Kathleen Kennedy said, are you going to play? He said, yes. Wow. My heart dropped. It's been so long since I've been able to see this wonderful character again on the screen. But just confirming again that he's going to be in the fold, doing this all again. It makes my heart warm. But Natalie Holt even said that she in the interview that she is a musician herself. I believe it. Notice she plays the violin and maybe the cello or the viola. One of those. I'm sorry, I don't know off the top of my head. but she know that she's also playing and singing on the score too, which is super cool. I love when people feel a sense of ownership that they want to portray, add something to the mix themselves. That's great. And she also talked about how like there are certain influences that from the real world that she's adding into the score itself. So for example, there are some Latin influences in one of the planets, so there's some of that flavor in this soup. There's some Thai, Hong Kong, some sounds that are more Eastern. So you're gonna get so expect some of that in this score. And definitely, as she noted, you take flavors from around the world and then try to turn them into something otherworldly. You're on Star Wars. You're scoring a planet. It has to have scale, and that's absolutely correct, right? Let's think that through. Like, could you imagine being on, a planet that has taking influence from, let's say like say it's representing Hong Kong, right? You would expect some type of Eastern sounds to be included in the backing and the score and what is taking place around it, right? It's those little real world pieces that make this galaxy far, far away not seem so far, far away. It makes it feel like it's in your backyard. It's that lived in experience that really gives Star Wars that graininess that makes it feel like, this could be me. I could see myself portrayed on the screen. I could see this taking place, and it makes the themes more relevant so that you can take that and almost see yourself in those situations. And what would I do? What would, given the information that's presented, well, how would I react here? Or even, we talked about Qui-Gon last week and how a simple instance of patience was something that I was able to bring in my own life. Maybe there are things that affect Obi-Wan here. And, you would hope that the emotional canon of it all is something that you can take back into your own daily existence and make yourself a better person because of that. That's what these stories are at the end of the day, is, as George will always say, it's a film for 12-year-olds on the precipice of becoming adults and going out into the world and trying to learn those big themes that are how you become a good person in a society. And that is, these are the things that I am super excited about when it comes to this series set. And literally no detail is overlooked. Everyone knows the stakes and the weight of what this series is, and how it's going to turn out is something that I'm very excited to see. But at the end of the day, I am super pumped just to see it overall. Now, we're on the road to May 27th now, folks. I assume over the next couple of weeks, we're going to get more and more uh, interviews as the press junkets and tours start to go crazy. Celebration is just around the corner, so I know that they're doing some things at that Thursday panel just before the Friday release of it all. There's going to be 2 episodes that day on Friday, May 27th, so it's a lot coming. There's a lot more that's going to probably be coming out. I imagine we're probably going to get a poster of some sort again, another poster probably. Maybe we'll get some TV spots, maybe another even full length trailer. Now's the time. We're full steam ahead into Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series that I am. If I have to rank what series I'm most excited for of the Star Wars projects that are announced right now, Obi-Wan Kenobi is there, and that's because I have such a fond memory of watching these movies. These are the films I've seen the most of any Star Wars films in the saga, Skywalker saga, and beyond. I just can't wait for this. I am super excited. I hope you are at home too. We're going to be covering it in depth on Force Ghost Conversations as we go into the next couple of weeks here. So be sure to connect with us on our social channels. I can't wait to hear what you are all thinking about this process, and what are you most excited for Obi-Wan Kenobi? Let us know. Follow us on Twitter. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Let's start getting excited for this, and we should be allowed to be excited as Star Wars fans. This is a lot of great stuff coming down the pipeline, but particularly for Obi-Wan Kenobi, this is probably some of the most anticipated stuff that Lucasfilm has put out and put together over the last couple of years. So let's enjoy the moment. Let's be like Qui-Gon and be available in the present. And let's look onward towards May 27th. It'll be here before we know it. So just get ready and let's get hyped. So with that, everybody, we'll be back next week with a brand new episode in Force Ghost Conversations. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive look at some of the news that have come out this past week about the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And like I said, we'll be back pretty soon with a brand new episode. We got a lot of great stuff coming up over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for all of that. But in the meantime, check us out on all of our social channels as noted before, and may the force be with you all. Take care.